gamers, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we are taking a look at Spiritfire by Orange Nebula. I'm Professor Meg, and I am joined by
Alex from Board Game Co.
That's right, and today is a first impressions video, so we were able to come here to Orange Nebula, visit their offices, please keep that in mind, and we were able to play a demo copy, a pre-production copy of what they have available for us to see, and today we're going to be talking about our first impressions of the game.
Yeah, and just to echo what you already said, I just want to make sure very clear, this is not paid content in any way, shape, or form, but they did pay for the travel, so we are here on their dime and all that. Please take that into account. If this video is not for you, by all means. Past that, this is going to be very, very much first impressions. Spiritfire, we'll talk more about it shortly, but this is a incredibly ambitious game with many parts that are fully crafted to the point that we can experience and go through it, and many parts that are still constantly going through development. And so this is as first impressions as you can get, as far as we've had a lot of hours in this game today. The whole day has basically been Spiritfire, but there's so much of this that we have not even gotten to see yet. Past that, this is a prototype. Everything you see here, rules, components, any rules and anything, all the stuff, subjects change.
Anything can change at any moment.
Anything can change at any moment.
Don't feel safe whatsoever. So Alex, what is Spiritfire about?
Spiritfire is a living legacy game, which is not their term, that's my made-up term, but a living legacy game in the sense that this is a game that it's not a legacy game. You will not be tearing up, destroying things of any kind. There'll be a full interview on the channel with the design team behind the game. You can check that out as well. But it's a game that is going to be a campaign, but it's a living system, and it's not purely a campaign. And it takes place in a world that has you going through a character arc and a world arc and mechanical arcs. All these things are going on, which is a lot of stuff. But the core idea is, at its core, you are controlling a character who has a limited amount of spark in them, and that spark is going to define what they can do and how they can do it. And the character is going to have their reasons, their motivations as to why they're going through this universe. Meanwhile, this character is going to be traversing various realms. And the game's going to come with a tutorial realm in the box. There's going to be additional realms you can get your hands on. I believe this plans to continue to support the game over time. And so you're constantly engaging in these realms that have these quests and interactions and things going on in these unique realms that affect how the game experience is played. But you're going through your journey. You're going through your character's arc and trying to prolong their spark, which is effectively how much time you have to get things done in the game. Your spark is constantly running out as you play. Time takes a toll on all of us, but you, depending on how you play, depending on how you engage with the system, you can elongate that spark. You can have a little bit more time out of it.
In the sense that it's a campaign game, what I said was that it's a personal quest-based campaign game as opposed to a scenario-based campaign game, where you're not playing scenarios through a story, you are playing through your story and just engaging with the content.
Yeah, 100%. And so you're going through that, you're doing all these things, and then meanwhile, mechanically, how does it mechanically play out? Well, you're going through a non-combat system of, well, everything. Whether you're escaping, whether you're meditating, whether you're negotiating, you're going through all the things you would typically go through on any kind of, traversing multiple realms journey, as we all do every other Sunday. But you're doing all these things that are all mechanically driven. You're going to be building out a deck. You're going to be adjusting the cards in your deck. You're going to be unlocking card packs at every turn. You're going to be frequently engaging in a world that gives you opportunities to unlock new content, which gives you new tools, new ways to interact, new ways to build your deck and to respond to the various threats along the way. You're going to have quirks and what's the other thing? The challenges or whatever it was. There's another term for there's good and bad things in your obstacles. I don't know, there's good and bad things that will be in your deck, in your systems, that will help you, enable you, get in the way, and they're all based around your exploration in this universe, and they're all based on a mechanical system of trying to efficiently optimize what you're doing and how you're doing it. You're going to have a hand of cards. You're going to be playing cards into various rows that will choose how you activate various forms of resolve in the game that are going to give you ways to draw more cards, to clear more cards, to move around the board, and to navigate with these different challenges that are these spreads in the game. There's going to be a full book full of spreads that are constantly being added, tweaked, development. Again, everything here, very prototype phase. We're not heavily getting into all these components. We can have like books full of just different spreads and different encounters you can have, and different things you're doing that all give you a way that your core system of how your cards operate interact with the spread that's also modified or affected by the quests you're going on. Might be affected by other things, from personal goals, from any number of things that are going on, but ultimately it's an efficiency engine. This is an efficiency engine that has you trying to accomplish as much as possible while trying to elongate your spark and maintain, like if you have to have, whenever you have to refresh, because the challenge, you can't lose in this game in a typical sense, but you can fail a quest. And that means you have to start again. And the problem with that means you have to give up time. Time is the resource that you're running out of. So if you fail something, you have to continue going and figure out, you have to start again and just you have to get ahead while dealing with the fact that you're limited on time. So that it's an efficiency engine. The entire game is how do you be more efficient? How do you build better decks? How do you build out a better tableau while exploring these realms and engaging in the story and various points along the way?
Right, and those are mechanics, but there's also a lot to engage with as far as unlocking things. So you're constantly unlocking things that you can gain as a player, like you were saying, both good and bad. But there's so much for you to go through that, yeah, it's an efficiency engine, but you're also playing in this huge open world that's basically revolving around you because you're crafting your own story. So it's very, I don't know, enchanting, I think.
Yeah. Which is, I guess, as close as you're going to get to a kind of overview of what's going on. Again, there are many elements we're not getting heavily into because many elements are still being tweaked. What we have here is various prototype phases and various stages of development. But as far as opinions on the game, thoughts, opinions, things we want to see, whatever it is, because very first impressions here. But do you want to start off on this?
Sure. I think one of the things that I loved learning about the game is that everything can be changed. So there are these spreads that you see, but so many things change and affect the things in the world that I'm excited to see how deep that goes and the surprises that can come from that. Because in getting to talk with the team and stuff, I even said it would be cool if this happened or that happened, and some of them were things that might happen.
Lots of knowing looks were passed. The whole day talking about Spirit Fire, and lots of knowing looks were passed around.
So I'm very much not just looking forward to the card play and being able to deck build and things like that, but I'm looking forward to these different encounters really surprising me and, you know, learning the game, thinking I know what's going on, and then having it change and really surprise me.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements to focus on here, and for me, the one that's usually going to pull me in the most, especially with it being Orange Nebula, are the mechanics of the game, are the efficiency engine. I think of Vindication as a pure efficiency engine of trying to have the right tools, the mechanics that are present to just be more efficient than the other players, to push a cube here and get a card there and get 2 points here that better than the other players, and I love how it works. I think Unsettled is very much a similar feeling to me of survival, but around that efficiency engine. How do you manage your resources? How do you build up more tools and unlock new abilities that give you what you need to engage with a host of threatening planets? And I don't know if I said this, but Vindication and Unsettled are both from the publisher Orange Nebula. And I think that Spiritfire to me definitely gave me that and a whole lot more in ways that are both good and also in ways that have me concerned or wondering, as I would with any long epic campaign game. But the efficiency engine is the first thing that pulls me in this game in the sense that you are constantly trying to just be better with your actions. You have goals. Sometimes there's a quest that's going to give you specific things you're trying to do, and sometimes it's an encounter that's just trying to push you as far as you can, but you're always trying to unlock things, and you're always trying to do so while trying to run out of as little spark as possible, trying to burn through as little time as possible. And so sure, you can get the job done no matter what, but if you get the job done with like half your deck gone, that just means you have less time to get things done before you have to refresh and slowly lose your spark, slowly run out of time. And so I feel the sense, one of the things I like about in games, I've talked about this in the past about how I don't feel games should be about winning or losing as the goal, but I want to feel challenged. I want to feel like I'm constantly trying to do as good a job as possible, and if I don't get that sense of challenge, it doesn't motivate me as much. And Spiritfire, from its core, gives you that sense of challenge in every action you take. I will get this job done. And there'll be things that'll have failure as well, but there's going to be many things that's just not about whether or not you get it done. It's about how efficiently do you get it done. How can you play that card, combine with that ability, build your deck out a certain way, have a conduit over here in play that's going to affect your tableau. How do you do all those things to accomplish the specific challenge in front of you? And then as you engage with the world, this goes back to the world exploring aspect of all these realms are going to have these different things that give you different quests and interactions and things that are happening along the way that affect what you're doing. So sure, you have a whole journal full of all these spreads that are some of the core mechanical focus of the game, but those are going to be modified by any number of things that you're engaged with from your own character's deck, from your own character's tableau, from the world you're engaging in, from slight adjustments to like, hey, in this particular spread, you have to do this thing, but you also have to do it with these modifications and this many times because that's the quest you're doing on. Whether it's again, negotiation, escaping, problem solving, whatever it is you're dealing with is modified. These are the thematic / mechanical affectation or way that the game is played out as you engage in these different realms. So mechanically, the game had me feeling challenged from the second I sat down to play it, even though there wasn't necessarily a sense of loss. So there was no loss. There's just do better and do better as efficiently as possible. And it has me also excited for the concept of deck building. You talk about unlocking packs, that there's going to be lots of cards you unlock. And so part of the game is, okay, how do you get to the point where you can unlock them? And the next part is how can you build a better deck or a different deck to counter your challenges?
And I think in the sense that you were saying do better, I think that these spreads are challenging to the point that it's rewarding as well. That if you are able to do better and if you're able to hit those certain points, at least from what we were able to see and hear, it does sound like it'll be extremely rewarding as a player. That I think that's when it's always best to have such a tough puzzle, is when you can get rewarded from the game for that sense of accomplishment.
I mean, even that very first spreads that we both handled, you handled it. It's very much a solo puzzle to a degree with a plug and play. It's you can solo together. What's the term? It's parallel play. You can parallel play. You can play the game at the same time with other players, and you could have a degree of other players engaging with each other in the same world. But at its core, and the way you'll approach it, you'll definitely approach it as a solo game first. But so we handled a bunch of spreads, and the very first spread, like, you're able to like go through everything, accomplish your challenge. You have a particular quest you're engaging when you're able to like, sync up your cards, do this, do that, and then just get the job done. Time is always a factor, but you're able to get the job done. And the very next spread, I hopped in with a certain goal of like, okay, great, I want to get all these things, and so I'll go for the optional challenge. Each spread is going to have optional challenges. So again, it gives you the ability to play with it as you want in terms of how difficult you want to push yourself, a little bit more reward, versus how much do you just want to do things. You want to explore. And it gives you the tools to approach this from different levels of complexity. But so I dove in, I immediately looked at the optional challenge and tried to figure out how can I optimize my way to getting as many of these these unlocks without getting too much into it. There's gonna be a whole system how you can unlock new cards, and so you're constantly earning new things that you could unlock, but then you actually have to work towards unlocking them. And so I tried walking into that, and then I was able to get some stuff done, but it was significantly harder to actually balance the puzzle. And so I like the fact that it gives you the variety, challenge, all these things baked in there.
And we haven't talked yet about anything about endgame, right?
No, not at all.
So one of the things that I was most interested in the moment I heard it is that you are playing through this personal journey, but you can continue the game. So you play through it, and there is a point when your spark will run out, and that will trigger an end game for you. I won't spoil anything, but you basically go through a journey for that, a certain, I don't even really know, but I heard things about it. But then after that, you can play another character. So there's a new game plus type thing that I think having that and being able to continuously play and have this version of a game that you are feeling like the legacy of what you are doing. I was really, really excited to, I said I'm going to run through my first one and try to, start the game again right away, because I think that's just so exciting.
Yeah, and as far as content goes, we talked about this a bit in the interview, but the content for the game, you're going to have your tutorial, you're going to have a tutorial system you're going through, you're going to have all the other ones you can get for the game, and then you're going to have additional content coming out as the game goes on. So it's one of those things you can build a character, you can develop how they are, you can speedrun your first character and then start exploring various realms, and you probably won't be able to get everything done. You almost certainly will not be able to get everything done because there's more for the universe to explore than there are characters. You can speedrun your first character, and then as soon as they're gone, you can immediately figure out what do you want to build out next, and how do you continue to explore these realms. And then eventually, as you develop and play through more characters, maybe you start to see more of what everything that is present in Spiritfire. Maybe you actually manage to explore every part of the universe that's currently present. But that's when you're fine, because at any given point, or in the future, as they continue to do things, you'll have more content showing up.
Yeah, like there's going to be things like more realms that you'll be able to play in and more personal character packs. There's all different things that you can add to support to this that I think they made a system that is so integratable. There are things that you'll be able to add, like new spreads and stuff that I don't know if that will be a Orange Nebula. Let us know.
We'll see. Now, I do want to talk about my concerns with the game as well, because we'll talk about this in final thoughts, but I'm very excited for this game. Very excited. But the nature of it being a larger system and a campaign system and a system that's asking you to spend anywhere from, you can dive in for 30 hours and get, your feeling of Spiritfire and decide is there a game for you. And you can play this game for 30 hours and have a great time with it, pack it up, reset it, gift it, do whatever you need to it. That's totally fine. You can also play this game for 200 hours. And any game that asks me to play it for 200 hours, my question is always, how do you keep me engaged for 200 hours? There's only a handful of games. And this is where I think you and I are a little different. You're a little more committed, and I'm a little bit more, keep showing me the reasons to
I can play the same exact thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, I want reasons to continuously being engaged in the system. If you give me a system that asks me for 200 hours of my time, give me the reasons to spend 200 hours on that. I think Gloomhaven is the game I played the most with maybe 200 hours, but for the most part, I think campaign games to a certain extent, they run...
My City is...
Well, my city is something else. My city is a lot.
Yeah.
But games to a large extent, they very often give you a lot of content, but at certain costs. And the cost could be things like grind. The cost could be things like a lack of balance as you continue to play through levels and levels of growing content. How does the game stay balanced?
Or
is there no longer a challenge? Yeah, feeling repetitive. There's so many things. Is the story investing enough? Like, can you actually play this for 200 hours? That gives you a story and incentive and worlds and impacts that keep you invested. And the answer to all those things is a strong, I don't know. I don't know, their
We'll find
concerns.
out.
We'll find out. We'll find out. But like today was a big part of today was not just playing Spiritfire, but having talks with the ONEV crew about Spiritfire, about those concerns, about how I've engaged with campaign games and what I want to see out of them. Even just the very nature of the fact that you can't lose the game is the kind of sentence that, I mean, if you follow any content around Dorf Romantic, around Mythman, any game that gives you a system and says, by the way, you can't lose, it's just about how well you do, those can't and scare people off, because what's the incentive to drive forward if failure isn't an option? And you can fail in Spiritfire. There are going to be quests that you can't accomplish, and you have to reset and reapproach it, and now you're burning time. But even on the quests that you're going to achieve it, it's just a question of, how do you achieve it, how much time do you take? Those are going towards that sense of you're working with limited spark. You are trying to build up the character and have the character go as long as possible.
Burdens.
Burdens.
They're called burdens.
You have burdens. Yeah, there's lots of burdens.
Yep.
But you're going to be going through all that, and so the game is challenging. I can tell you that my drive to play the game, even though you can't lose for the most part, even though it's like a fail forward, an ongoing system, that they already seem to have down, at least so far. But how things are going to develop is a big question for me. It's a big question of, as you continue to unlock cards, is there scope creep? Are the cards, because one of the things that they pitch is the idea that it's not about better, it's about different. You have more tools at your disposal, but it's not something it's not that you're getting more powerful and the game gets weaker as you go, and that's something that's theoretically great, except I haven't played that much. I haven't played to the point where I've unlocked dozens of new packs, incorporated new cards, deck built my system. So I can only say that, there's different things in games. I think there's variety of content, and variety of content.
There's different things in games.
There's different things in games. I think there's variety of content. There's variety of content in the sense that there are many spreads, these pages, these challenges that are going to be part of the driving forces together with the realms are going to give you something to go through. Though the sheer amount that they have at the beginning makes me feel that I'm not at risk of having the core puzzle feel repetitive. But that's the difference between, there's a big difference between, hey, you can keep me engaged for 30 hours versus you can keep me engaged for hundreds of hours.
And we both said we'll see, but based on everything I've seen, I'm willing to take that chance.
Oh.
I'm willing to get in it until I want to walk away.
Oh, I'm very optimistic. This is very rewarding. I just think I think there's a big difference between, hey, this game is playable for 200 hours and this game is good to play for 200 hours. And I can only say that I've seen enough that I am incredibly excited. I've seen enough that in fact, let's go ahead and move to, I guess, final thoughts and stuff. Let's talk about general opinions of the game.
Great, because I just thought of something.
What's your final thoughts?
One other thing I'd love to say before I jump into final thoughts is something we don't always cover when we give first impressions, but I think is important, is that this game is beautiful. The art is great, and it's something that engages you. That I think for me, that's something that's really important, that when it is really strong mechanics, also looking at it is so pleasing that it puts you in a world that you're happy to be in. Which I really enjoy, and it's the art of the cards. Like, you want to unlock others because there are like these creatures that you get, and they're just so cool and cute, and you want to see more. And it's like a whole world of these alien things that you just want to see. So I do just want to make that note that this game does really stand out for me, what it looks like. And I wouldn't say just the art, but something I do talk about a lot is accessibility for, iconography and things like that, and how not easy the game is, but easy to interpret and understand. These make sense, and how easily does the player board look. And I think that this game flows so well that the moment I picked it up, I had mechanic questions about what to do, but every symbol made sense. I had no questions about that, even like their terminology and stuff. I think that part I really enjoyed as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I think that I think they did a fantastic job of pulling you in from what we've seen so far. And like, again, we haven't seen so many aspects. There's so many larger scale things you can't see in a day, of the impact you'll have in the world, the quest you'll go, the ongoing impact of things, of how, the various choices will be cut off, cards may never be unlocked. Things can happen that there's lots of things we have not been able to experience. I think for me, my overall, I guess I'll tell you what I told the ONEV crew directly.
We'll tell you.
We'll tell you too. I told them that I think they have a core system that is incredibly intriguing and has the potential to be game-changing in the sense that it is a campaign game like no other. Like none that I've ever played, at least from what I've seen. I've played a lot of campaign games, I've dipped my foot into a lot of different types of games, and the way they're approaching this has elements that are familiar, but the sum of its parts very much feels like a very, very unique system. Even just the fact that combat is not the driving focus. It is a giant, epic campaign game that's about how efficient you are, how you build your deck, how you just approach an entire world and interact with it in a way that is not your standard move around some board and beat up some people kind of puzzle. And I think the core they've built is incredibly well done. It has me incredibly excited about it. also hesitant because I do think campaign games have higher potential, but also higher burdens. It's just, you have to build a system that works across what you're promising it to work. This is not a play for 2 hours and reset and move on. This is a game that's promising a lot, and that means there's a lot of room for it to deliver in a way that is incredibly exciting and incredibly fun. And so far I love what I've seen. But also, you know, a day of playing a game that's meant to be played for 200 hours is not a review. And so I'm invested. I am excited. This feels like what you get if you take Vindication, if you take Unsettled, and you say, hey, you know what, we're gonna take some of the core elements you've seen there, but we're gonna make that into a much, much bigger, more involved system. And it feels like they've done that, with the caveat that there's many, many elements that I haven't seen yet, and so can only give a taste of an opinion as opposed to, here's where we are 200 hours later.
And I would say my final thoughts, we hit on a lot of things that are great about this, like the very strong mechanics, how much world and content there is to play through, and how unique it can be depending on what interacts with it, and what you decide to do, and how beautiful it is. But I think to me, one of the most important things, and I think to tell you guys, is that in its heart, the deck building aspect of this is going to be the most exciting part for you. So if you're someone who enjoys card games, especially something like living card games, you're going to be constantly changing your deck and able to adjust to different situations that you're trying to overcome, that you have a pool of cards that you unlock and you're able to use those, and even like your companions you can swap out and things like that. That I think the deck building aspect is what's strongest, that if you're someone who prefers to do that in games and has a lot of fun engaging with that, I think this is definitely a game to check out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, and that has been a first impressions of Spiritfire by Orange Nebula. Again, thank you to Orange Nebula for bringing me out here to their offices to get to check all of this out. And if you'd like to learn more, they will be launching soon on Kickstarter. You can be notified on their page now to know when they go live, but they are going to be doing a live stream on October 24th. It's called The Wormhole. You can check it over on the Orange Nebula YouTube, which I'm sure will be linked down below magically. But you can go over there on October 24th. They'll be talking more about the game and, you know, just talking to their community and stuff like that. And yeah, you can check that out.
So until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. This has been a first impressions of Spiritfire.
I'm Professor Meg. Thank you to Orange Nebula.
And as always, I hope you have a good one.
Bye.